Hello, everyone. I hope you are having a wonderful evening. My name is Sophie Barron, founder and CEO of The Conversationalist, and I could not be more excited to welcome you to our fifth political panel tonight, talking all things politics and pop culture. It is a very special night. Tonight kicks off the first presidential debate of 2020. So first things first, if you are loving this conversation and you want to continue the conversation with us after tonight's panel, just join our community. We're going to be doing a live debate watch party where you can live chat the debates with other young people around the country. So all you have to do is text the word unify to 877-222-1119, and we cannot wait to see you there. And just a quick note, for those of you who it might be your first time at The Conversationalist, we are the go-to destination to amplify Gen Z voices. We are on a journey to unify the world one voice at a time, and every single one of you, including our panelists and our guest hosts backstage, are a part of that movement to help us unify the world. And since we're talking about politics, just a quick reminder that when we have this conversation, just remember, none of us are experts. Speak from your own experience, show some positivity in the chat, respond to what people are saying, because at the end of the day, this is a conversation, but things might get heated, and that's okay, because at The Conversationalist, we are all about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. So without further ado, thank you so much again for being here tonight, and I am so excited to introduce our incredible panelists. Also, a shout out to so many people we already see in the chat: Isaac, Alexandra, Jaylene, Shivanshi, so many awesome people here. Please submit all of your comments because we'll be able to pop your comments onto the screen. So here we go. Let's start panel number 5, all about politics and pop culture. So first of all, we have Sin Gomez. We have Javon Price. We have Bella Santos. We have Ethan Suquette. We have Isaac Soto. We have Maya Clarish. We have Ava Brown, and we have Ramaya Thomas. So these are your panelists for this evening. We are so excited to welcome them to the stage. And I'm sure you're wondering, there's probably one person missing from the screen. So without further ado, it is my absolute honor on behalf of the entire conversationalist community to introduce our celebrity guest host for the evening, Frankie Rodriguez. Frankie is a leader of Generation Z. He is an actor, he is a trailblazer, and you may know him as Carlos from High School Musical, the series on Disney+, as well as some other places where he has acted and graced us with his presence. So without further ado, we thank him in advance. We are so excited to welcome the wonderful, the amazing Frankie to the stage. Welcome, Frankie.
Hi.
Hello. We're so excited for this conversation. I'm going to pop off stage and hand you the mic, but thank you all so much for being here and can't wait for an awesome conversation.
Love it. Thank you so much. I am so excited to kick off the 5th political panel with The Conversationalist surrounding all things pop culture and politics. Like Sophia said, I am Frankie Rodriguez. I'm an actor currently on the Disney+ show High School Musical, the series. And I'm so excited to meet all of you, even if it is just through a screen, which is kind of what we're doing these days, but that's okay. I also want to take a quick second to thank The Conversationalist for giving us this space to have these important conversations. And with that being said, I would love to get started with Sin. And I wanted to ask, when you think of the connection between pop culture and politics, what comes to your mind?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think there's a very strong relationship there. I think that everyone can agree with that, regardless of political affiliation and how you identify. But more specifically to me, when I relate the two concepts, I think of how influential they can be on one another. So I think that it's not only up to every individual watching today and just all of us to take a part in the conversation, but pop culture and who is at the forefront of a conversation is really important too. So like how actors, how musicians, how social media influencers, how we can all play a part in this and how we can all contribute to a helpful and inclusive conversation surrounding politics. So I think that that's a good thing. And I hope that other people can build off of that statement too.
Love it. Thank you. Ramaya, kind of the same question. What do you think the correlation is between politics and pop culture?
You know, it took me a moment because I knew this was going to be one of the questions you probably were going to ask me. So I tried to, have it scripted before. But when thinking about the correlation between the two, I think that pop culture is anything that's pretty popular during our generation or during this time right now. So if that's a specific song, a television show, or anything that's, really popular right now, and then anything political, anything that we can be really opinionated about. So anything that we can provide different perspectives on, different opinions, and have just genuine conversations about them.
Yeah, for sure. Isaac, how do you think pop culture can impact politics?
I think over quarantine, we've seen a clear evidence of that. Immediately, my brain goes to like TikTok, and the way that that has given a big rise to youth voices in the political community. Because previously in other generations, we see that the voices that represent us are kind of chosen for us, but with apps like TikTok, where it's user based, it allows anyone to have a voice at any time, and I think that's what really leads to new political voices.
Yeah, for sure. So as we have all seen, politics definitely plays a huge role in entertainment, and we've seen that in shows like The Simpsons or Scandal, Parks and Rec, The Politician, House of Cards, but then also in movies like Lincoln, Milk, and American Hustle. And then my personal favorite, obviously music, and we've seen that with American Idiot by Green Day, Born This Way by Lady Gaga, Only the Young by Taylor Swift, This Is America by Childish Gambino. Bella, with all of that being said, how have you seen politics play out in various aspects of pop culture?
So I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, and I actually recently watched a documentary, Miss Americana, and a lot of what the documentary talked about was how Taylor Swift, her entire life, was kind of being silenced for her own political beliefs. But I think that she's changed the game for women, especially in politics, because she chose to speak out even when people told her not to. I've seen her bring a lot of things to the forefront. Like, if you guys are familiar with her album Lover, the song The Man, You Need to Calm Down, and of course, Only the Young. All of those songs addressed political issues, and I think seeing somebody as big as her take the stage with all of those issues, I think that really inspired a lot of people, and it inspired me to use my voice and use my liberty to have free speech.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of the main reasons why I love Taylor Swift, is because she's so okay speaking her mind, even when other people might say maybe don't say that. She's like, no, I have a voice, I have a platform, and I'm going to use it. And I mean, of course, Taylor Swift fans love it. Ava, what about you? Do you think you've been impacted at all by political messages in pop culture, either directly or indirectly?
Yes, for sure. I definitely see with the use of social media, especially through quarantine, with all the Black Lives Matter things and all that kind of things, and politics and the debate and presidents, I've seen it through TikTok, seen it through Instagram, especially reposts on Instagram stories. I definitely think that it's important for us to be because, we see these things every day, and it's everything we see affects our opinion, because we may see news stories, and we may see posts, and, we talk with our friends about our opinions. And I just think that pop culture is super important in politics, because it's the future of our politics, because it's our Gen Z community coming together to talk about such important topics.
Yeah, for sure. I also love how, especially now, having a younger following on social media platforms, just how vocal all of you guys have been about just really making your voices heard. I think that's amazing. Javon, almost the exact same question. Have your political beliefs been impacted by pop culture, do you think?
I think it's hard to say that they aren't. I think given what my co-panelists have said regarding social media, and I think I'm surprised no one's mentioned it yet, the passing of the late, great Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, the impact that she had as a political figure on pop culture is huge. I mean, she's called the notorious RBG for a reason, right? And so
yeah,
you look at a lot of music, like you were saying. I know tons of rap as well will mention it's called intellectual rap, and it talks about a lot of the problems that whether it be racial injustices or getting activated in voting. And so as someone who loves music, as someone who's on social media, there's no doubt that it absolutely has an impact on the way you think about things, because it's that sense of togetherness and really being able to develop your opinions, and social media and pop culture giving people the avenues to do so, I think is huge.
Yeah, for sure. Ethan, do you think pop culture should be political in the first, if you're there? But in the event you're not, we'll pass it on to Ramaya. Do you think pop culture should be political, like in the first place?
Well, I don't think anything can never be not political. I think that in aspects of life, everything will one day become political. There's different perspectives that we're all not going to agree on, which will make them really opinionated, like I said, and will make them political. And at the end of the day, and so I don't think it behooves us to say that pop culture shouldn't be political, because then I think it'll be allowing us to block out different perspectives. And so the good thing about politics is it allows different opinions and different perspectives. And I think that adds great value to pop culture, and just anything that we keep arising within our generation.
Yeah, for sure. Sin, what about you? Do you think entertainment and media in general have the power to seriously impact our government in hopes of creating positive change?
Yes, I would think it's very interesting the position we find ourselves in right now. But regardless of what the offices of the presidency, of Congress, of the judicial branch, as Javon brought up, I think that there's definitely an influence here. And the way we see it now is how, not even how it's affecting our current government, but rather how it's going to mobilize the next generation of people in power. And as you mentioned, the politician, I know that that was something that mobilized me a great deal. And I know that similar variations of music and of albums, how it looks on TV, and just seeing that you can be represented and that you have the opportunity, you have that space now. I know that as an LGBT person, that wasn't there for me 10 years ago.
No,
and
sure.
I know that you brought up Milk too, which is a documentary on Harvey Milk, and seeing all these media outlets and just platforms given to young people, we're finally realizing that this isn't unattainable anymore. And I think that media plays a big role, like I said, not necessarily how we impact the government right now, but rather how we will in the next decade. And I know that's really frustrating, but that also means that we're not being complacent. We're aware of everything that's happening all the time, mostly unwillingly, just because that's the fact, that's the nature of the situation we're in, with having to be very stationary right now. And I think that media is all we're consuming. And the fact that that media is now coming into how we view government and how we act in correlation to it is definitely going to, like I said, shape how each one of us here are making space and keep giving that space to those around us as well. But yeah, media is where we're going, and it's a crazy thought.
Yeah, for sure. Maya, do you think, just kind of backtracking to another question we've asked, do you think pop culture should be political at all?
I think, like most of the other panelists have said, I think there's no way to avoid it at this point. And I think ultimately these are important topics, and a lot of these topics, regardless of political affiliation or opinion, are topics that should be discussed. And I think introducing them in pop culture at young ages is a great way to get people to start, having these conversations in their households, in their communities, at schools. And so ultimately, yeah, I think pop culture is really shaping politics these days, and it's a great platform to do so.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys all have amazing answers. I just love how all of you are so well spoken. So I would love to transition into celebrities and politics, which for me, I feel like is a very big hot topic. And I know that a lot of celebrities do choose to keep their political views to themselves or private, but a lot of, especially right now during this election, a lot of people have come forward, including Emma Watson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Katy Perry, Angelina Jolie, Ben Platt, Taylor Swift. Ethan, why do you think some celebrities do or do not feel comfortable sharing their views publicly? If you can hear us. We'll give them a second. All right, so we'll pass it to Isaac. Why do you think some celebrities do or do not feel comfortable sharing their views publicly?
I think it varies person to person. Everyone has a different opinion. I think in one aspect, it could be that they're afraid certain political beliefs might get rejected. I know sometimes like certain celebrities get like, whether you're conservative or liberal, depending who you're following is, you might get backlash if you open up about what you truly believe or even who you truly are as a person. And I think that fear is rational. You don't want anyone to hate on you. That's not a fun feeling to have. And so I think that's probably the biggest reason is like for someone who is adored by so many people is like a fear of rejection because of what they believe.
Yeah. Have you personally seen that in any like celebrity or public figure that you follow? Someone who has maybe gotten backlash because they've come forward with their beliefs or views or something?
Yeah, I think maybe the one that comes to mind right away is Kanye. He's really popular, and his music is still really good. But I think he came forward with a more conservative approach, and he did get backlash from a lot of the people who listened to him. Yeah.
Ava, do you think celebrities or public figures should disclose their political views at all?
You know, it's a good question because, like, kind of like what Isaac said, like, I feel like a lot of them are, like, afraid to say their political opinion because they're afraid of their fan base not liking them or, like, half their fan base being on one side or half their fan base being on another side. Like, I saw Billie Eilish post videos of her talking about how we should all be voting and, like, you know, talking about, I think she supports Biden. I think that that's what she was talking about. But I definitely think that, you know, like, we need to all listen to each other's opinions. Like, whoever you support, like, I think it would be beneficial if they did post about their opinion, but that they also accepted other people's opinions and listened to what they were saying before they got, like, super extreme. Because, like, I know that that's been kind of crazy on social media right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Frankie, do you mind if I hop in on this one really quickly?
Yeah.
I just, so as someone who identifies as a Republican, and a moderate one at that, I think that there definitely is a difference, right, and how we go about these things. For someone who is socially liberal, I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. I'm obviously a Black man. I'm not looking to harm any of my communities. I just believe fiscally that there, you know, that there's ways to go about these things, right? But I feel like when it comes to conservatism and celebrities who speak out, there's a difference in reaction, right? And there's no disrespect. I think when Billy comes out, it's a beautiful thing. I just saw recently that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson actually endorsed Biden and Kamala. It's a great thing, and I think all celebrities should feel empowered to share themselves, because at the end of the day, they are private citizens, they are humans, and they have opinions. But I do think it's important that at the same time that when we are sharing what we believe and why we believe, that you aren't demonized, and that respect, I think, sometimes is lost in the social media environment because of the mob mentality that often accompanies things like social media. So it's a challenge every day, and I think that this panel knows that, and I know all of you are really active in ensuring that people can have respectful conversations. But there's a difference, and I think it's up to our generation to change that, right? I think we have been the main, we push that a lot, but often we can be the ones to change that. So with all due respect, yeah, definitely a difference, but I hope that we can build a place where people feel empowered to share what they believe and that we listen to them, right? Because there's usually a reason why people believe what they believe.
Yeah, for sure. Sin, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to extend a thank you to Javon for bringing that up, because we're within a similar community of being LGBT, and we're very different individuals. And I think that addressing that is very powerful, because being a part of a community doesn't look like one thing. And I think that to add to his point and what the conversation had been talking about surrounding cancel culture, I feel like we all are aware of how toxic it can be, but also how detrimental it can be is an important point to bring up, because it can lead to these figures who are already given such a high status, who most of them struggle with anxiety, depression, PTSD, a multitude of mental health issues, and to add this extra pressure or internal conflict, I should say, of trying to show their most authentic self, but facing the backlash and canceling can be really detrimental to one's mental health. And just like Javon said, they're civil people, and just the fact that they are human is an important fact that we often forget, especially behind the screen. So I think that that's just a really powerful message.
Oh, for sure. Ramaya, did you want to say something?
Yes, I know we have to move on, but just what Sin and Javon have been really saying has made me think about how detrimental cancel culture can be to progression. And if we continuously perpetuate this idea of cancel culture, will we ever be able to progress as a society? Because if we have so many conflicting ideas and so many conflicting resolutions, like if we can never accept a lot of these different ideas, how will we ever progress? I mean, so I think that something we need to change in society is being more open to progression. And in order to be more open to progression, we have to stop being so reaction. So we have to stop responding with so many reactions and be proactive. And I think that's one thing as a society we have to, get a better understanding of.
Bella, what responsibility do you think celebrities and public figures have with their platforms, and does this extend to politics?
Yeah, so actually, to going into my answer to that question, I don't know if you guys have seen, but Millie Bobby Brown just starred in a new movie on Netflix called No Homes. And one of the quotes from that movie is, you don't like politics because politics suits you. Or you won't use your voice in politics because politics suits you. And I think that celebrities, people could beg to differ that politics and political culture that we already have now suits them. I really do think it depends on which celebrity it is. I know as a white, straight American woman, it suits me pretty well. But I think that celebrities, just I have seen how so many people fall under the category of tormented because of the way the politics are. And I think that when we see that, and when we target that, and when we choose to use the platforms that we have to speak out against that, then that really makes a big difference, even if we get backlash for it. And I think celebrities have, and I don't ever believe in forcing anybody to do anything or giving backlash to somebody because they don't do anything, but they do have an incredible opportunity, and they've already made huge impacts in the social and political climate that we've already had. So I think if I ever became a celebrity, I would definitely use my my platform to expand the voices of the people that I know need to be heard.
Maya, what about you? Do you think celebrities or public figures have a responsibility on their platforms, and does it extend to politics?
I think this is a really difficult question. I think there's a balance. I definitely think there's a responsibility when you're in the public eye and so many people are following you, both following you just like to follow you, but also like really idolizing and looking up to you to set a good example. But I think we also have to recognize that every person is a person at the end of the day who, is flawed and makes mistakes and might say something, take it back, all sorts of different things like that. So I definitely think there is a need and a desire for them to use their platforms to vocalize their opinions. But I think, like everyone has been saying, we also need to recognize that at the end of the day, they are people who are also growing and learning just as much as any other person is.
Isaac, did you want to add something to that?
No, what I chose spirit fingers.
Oh, yes, spirit fingers. We all have, yes, what a time. Ethan, if you can hear me, do you think celebrities or public figures should share their political views, or do you think they should keep it to themselves? Radio silence. I'll pass that to Ava. Do you think that celebrities and public figures should keep their political views to themselves, or do you think they should be using their platforms?
Kind of similar to what I think Maya was talking about it, but I know that like a lot of celebrities' fan bases, like they look up to them. Like, of course, like I look up to you, Frankie, and I know like I look up to like a lot of other celebrities because, I feel like by celebrities posting like their political opinions, but also accepting other people's political opinions, it allows them to have more of a conversation about it, the conversationalist, and be able to like talk to each other and spread positive messages. Because like even if they support one side or the other, maybe they can explain why or what they support. So then more people are educated about it and more people know more about it before they take a stand to something that they might not know that much about.
Right, for sure, totally. Javon, as technology and media has evolved over time, how do you think the relationship between politics and pop culture has changed?
I don't think there's any doubt that the impact on each other has grown. I just think back to the 60s and the 70s, where you see this whole cultural movement. And I would just, I think you can argue that that is a moment in pop culture that had a huge impact on the political scene and what was going on, right? There's anti-war movements. We had the infamous hippie movement. I mean, just all these great, this great times in American history. But I think now, again, with the spread of technology and the ubiquitousness of it all, it's everywhere, right? So every moment could turn into a pop culture moment. And so I think at the end of the day, the relationship has been more ingratiated than ever before. And I can only imagine that it'll continue to do so as time progresses. I mean, you can go on Twitter right now and I could say something right now and it could be on Twitter in 10 minutes and go viral. And then you have shirts on and whatnot. So, there's no doubt that that technology has had a huge impact on pop culture and the audience that it gets to as well.
Yeah, for sure. Ramaya, what about you? Do you think our current president has impacted the relationship between politics and pop culture? If so, how?
Oh, that's a good one to unpack.
I know.
When thinking about if our president has really impacted pop culture and politics, is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that as any other celebrity, I think a lot of times a lot of people look up to certain people. And I think when people have been put on a huge pedestal and they've been given such a large platform, I think that they have such a huge responsibility with the things that they say, with the way that they, I don't necessarily think that people should change themselves based on the platform that they receive, but I do think that they should be cautious of the platform that they have been given, the way that this can impact those around them. By him being our president, I definitely think that he can say different things, do different things that can allow people to agree and disagree with him. And I definitely think that this can affect what's popular in our society, and what is normalized in our society as well, and what should and shouldn't be accepted.
Isaac, how do you think the current presidential election is being impacted by pop culture and vice versa?
That's a good topic to unpack. I think that the election is really impacted by a couple of things, mainly everyone having an opinion and wanting to share that opinion and having a platform to do so. But also it allows a really quick spread of information about all the different candidates that there were and the two that there now are. It even allowed Kanye to become a questionable candidate. And but I think it actually has helped me and any potential voters to decide and make their decision even easier on their candidates, because every time they scroll through their Instagram, they're learning new facts, and they can just hop on Google and find out if those facts are actually real. And I think that's a really interesting thing that plays into how social media affects politics, because you can really just find out so many new things.
Sin, what about you? Do you think the current presidential election is being impacted by pop culture?
I think that it's been said multiple times, but this is a hefty topic. Pop culture and the current election. Yes, they do, in fact, affect each other. And I think that the way pop culture, we see it now is, I've mentioned it before, but it's mobilizing people. I know that a lot of young people are feeling the severity and the weight of this election because so much rides on it. Our academic future, whether or not we're gonna have college at a reduced cost or for free, healthcare during a pandemic. Let's see, what else? Race relations, LGBT rights, women's rights, you name it, it's on the ballot. And I think that weight is something that pop culture has added. And I think that, once again, to reiterate what everyone has been saying, just because we're constantly on it, and as Isaac said, like politicians are always on there trying to get that screen time as well, that they go hand in hand. The pop culture has become political and vice versa. And there's no way we can go back from it now. Like, it's too heavily ingrained, as it has been mentioned before. But yes, I think that it's just such a complex issue, and Ramaya was hitting it directly on the head, hitting the topic. The way it has shaped this election is the weight, the anxiousness, and the mobilization that we're seeing from young people, either being poll workers, registering to vote, helping families fill out the census. just this overall knowledge that we share now is thanks to pop culture. But then again, we come into conflict with things like fake news and hatred, and pop culture also perpetuates things like that. So it's a very fine line to walk on for sure.
We know Ethan is having some issues, but we're trying to see if he can like type them out so we can still make sure that his voice is heard. Maya, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, Sin kind of mentioned it right at the end there, but I think something really incredible that we're seeing with pop culture and technology as well is how much it's imploring young people to register to vote, and really any person who isn't registered to vote. You open up Snapchat, Instagram, every form of social media, and something is right there that you can literally click on and check if you're registered, change your registration, get an absentee ballot, all of these options that so many people were unaware of prior to this election are now becoming so accessible due to pop culture, social media, and technology.
And that's a two-way street, right? So the simplification and the commodification of certain things, of certain speeches, of certain sayings, of certain actions, of certain events, sometimes that can have an adverse effect and honestly, not promote any type of other exploration, right? Not promote any type of learning about an actual topic. The one-liners, the zings, the gotchas, those can really sometimes have a negative effect. And again, this is both sides of the aisle type thing. While I love pop culture, obviously it's targeted for people like us, for young folk, but at the same time, there's a danger. And I think there's important for young folk to go out there and ensure that we are doing our due diligence and ensuring that just because something looks good on a t-shirt doesn't mean it's true. And if or just because a tweet sounds great doesn't mean it's accurate, right? So those are important things that I think it's important to understand at the end of the day when it comes to pop culture.
Yeah, Bella, real quick.
I was just gonna say, our generation has a rep not being politically involved. Just the numbers and statistics, especially from the last election, like millennials and Gen Z, it's not a common thing for us to be involved. But I really do think that, when I look in when my kids look in their textbooks, several years down in the future, they're going to look at 2020 and see, oh man, a lot of young people voted in this election because of the impact pop culture has had in TikTok, most notably for me, but for a lot of different media platforms.
Nice. Ava, your final thoughts?
Well, I just wanted to say that, I even saw, in the comments, I forget who commented it, but also, I feel like this is the biggest election that I've ever seen on social media, the most that I've ever learned about and been involved in, because it's I'm seeing it everywhere on social media, on TikTok. Every time I scroll through my feed, every single video is about people's opinions and how to watch it and blah blah blah. Instagram, people are reposting things, sharing their opinions, and I think that that's very positive, because it's by using pop culture, we're all more educated and we're all more involved in the government system, which obviously holds power over the whole country. So by having pop culture and politics be involved with each other, it allows for everyone to have a voice and for everyone to talk about how they feel, and for people to have these conversations that are so important for the future of our country.
So I did want to open up the floor just for one final thought. What are you taking away from tonight's conversation, and how did this conversation break your echo chamber? Does anyone want to answer? Bella?
I was just gonna say, I think I don't know if this is breaking my echo chamber or not, but I just think it's really cool to see, because I have a lot of friends and acquaintances that are just very, very polarized in the way that they think, to the point that it becomes I will just respect another person because they don't have the same views as I do, or even I won't respect another person just because they don't align exactly with how I would want to do things or how I would want to carry something out. And I can feel a lot of pressure from that, but I think I really appreciate people like you guys who see past everything. And even if somebody is making a wrong decision or is spreading hate, you can still see a person behind everything. And I think that that's one of the most important things we have to keep in mind when we're regarding politics. And I'm personally not a big Trump fan, but I've had to break open the echo chambers of my mind and understand that he's still a person. And the founding fathers wrote in the Constitution and also gave him the right of free speech, but they also gave it to us. So yes, I just wanted to comment on that. But thank you guys so much.
Yeah, I think we have time for one more. Does anyone else want to hop in real quick before we have to transition out? Ethan, I'm so sorry. Maya, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I find myself really caught in my own echo chamber constantly, just because of my social circles, because of where I grew up, where I go to college, all of those things just really reiterate my own opinions. And while I strongly stand by my opinions, it's incredible to hear others, and in such a respectful, well-meaning platform. And with, so often it's like Bella was saying, it's either your way or completely polarized, and no one's going to listen to each other. And so I think having this conversation was just a really great space to talk.
Yeah. Ramaya, did you have one final thought?
Frankie, if I could just hop in there for really quickly, just one last thing I wanted to say before it slips my mind. So being a conservative in DC, you're forced to live around people who usually don't agree with you, right? So I know there's this idea of breaking echo chambers digitally, but I would also encourage folks to break that echo chamber in person, right? Because oftentimes you can hide behind a screen and not really have a conversation with someone, and it's easy to vilify. When you go out and you talk to people, you have a face-to-face personal interaction, it is damn hard to demonize someone or to prescribe them a certain way of life. So I encourage everyone to go out there and to talk to people who don't agree with you, who don't agree with you, and ask them why. Figure out why, because that why is often the most important thing.
I love it. And last final thought we'll go with Ramaya.
Yes, I appreciate Javon for also bringing that up, because that was also going to be similar to my point. And similar to what Maya said, I appreciate us to respectively be able to disagree, and to be able to share different perspectives, because I think this is the only way we can really progress. And we can't progress if we don't talk about anything. If we don't open up the floor for different conversations, and if we don't open up the floor for different opinions and different perspectives. And so I really wanted to thank the Conversationalist and for you, Frankie, for taking your time today to really open up this floor for such an amazing conversation that I think many generations will come.
Thank you. I was happy to do it. All of you are I'm just so excited that this is the new generation. And it's so nice to meet all of you and talk to all of you. But yeah, I think we have to wrap up here now. But again, thank you so much. This was very nice. Nice to hear different viewpoints.
Give it up for everyone on the screen. Thank you all so much. That was such an incredible conversation. We could talk about this for hours, but unfortunately we have to wrap it up tonight. But let's not have the conversation end here. Let's keep this going. Make sure all of you are in our community. And of course, we'll talk a little bit more with Frankie. But thank you all so much again for being here, for sharing your voices with us. And we can't wait to continue the conversation with all of you. Awesome. Okay. We have to say goodbye to our panelists, but thank you all so much again. We'll see you soon. Oh my goodness. I'm so sad to see them leave the stage. Also so sad that we never got to hear from Ethan, but like we said, we're in a pandemic. Technology is a bit iffy all over the place. We're human, but Frankie, thank you so much for being here. You are such a natural conversationalist. You led that conversation so well. And I'm so excited to transition into a quick Q&A. So for anyone who's still here, if you have a question for Frankie, now is your chance. Drop it in the comments. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. But Frankie, I wanted to start off. You just threw that question to the panelists of what are they taking away from this conversation, and maybe something new that they learned tonight. What are you walking away from this conversation with?
I think it's just that final thought of really, you can't just be so comfortable and stubborn with your own views. Like, you really have to see the other side. And I think social media, especially right now, kind of like, it's either one or the other. You can't have an in between. And so I think for me going forward, until, going forward with this election, it's just like, you really have to make sure you're covering all of your bases and all the grounds and stuff.
For sure. And this is a relevant question, but Alexander wants to know, do you ever feel pressured to post your own political beliefs on social?
Yes and no. Yes. I don't know. I think just because sometimes it's kind of just assumed, just, being in the LGBTQ plus community, you're kind of just assumed to be one way. So I don't really feel too much pressure. I think right now, what's important to me is just making sure everyone is going to go out and vote, and just reminding, check your, being annoying, just like every other social media, app, but check your registration, see where you're registered to vote, and if not, correct all that information.
I love that. And since we are talking about politics and pop culture, this question comes from Lydia. Has politics influenced the roles that you've auditioned for?
Not that I've No, that's such an interesting question. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'll audition for anything.
Great. Amazing. And have you ever seen politics represented on HSM, the series?
Ooh, not yet. I'm sure that would be an interesting topic, though, for sure.
For sure. And also, I mean, we're getting so many questions. I don't know how we're going to pick all of them, but everyone, thank you for submitting. Frankie, also curious to know, tonight we're so excited for this give back component of our event and donating all of our proceeds to special books by special kids. And I just want to know, what in your life or any experiences that you've had led you to choose this particular organization tonight?
Yeah, so my nephew, who's 3 years old, is autistic, and so but one thing he really does relate to are books and also music, and so that was just like the main connection for me, is just to see, like, he's just so lively, even with like a book, and it's really exciting to see, and it's just kind of like, if that's his way to communicate, then like, let's just do it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that was the organization you chose. They are incredible. We have another great question. This one comes from Rena. I'm going to pop it on the screen. What has it meant to you to play the first openly gay character in the High School Musical franchise?
Ooh, I mean, it means a lot. It wasn't really something I thought about going into it, because obviously I was just so happy to have the job. But then it wasn't until you start to like do press for the show and all these questions come up and you're like, I'm almost like, why me? But I'm also very excited to take on the role. But it's amazing. It's been an amazing ride, and I've just loved the outpouring of support from viewers and people watching the show. So it's been great.
Amazing. And do you have a favorite moment from season 1 that you always go back to as like a groundbreaking or meaningful moment for you?
Oh, for sure. I think it's definitely from the homecoming episode, just the song Born to be Brave, because I've heard that song a million times, but I just love the message that it has. And so that whole part of the show just has a special place in my heart, for sure.
Amazing. And as you know, at The Conversationalist, we're all about helping young people discover their voices and amplify their voices. How have you been able to find your voice in the entertainment industry and as an actor?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. It's really tricky, especially being an openly gay actor in Hollywood. And I know that sounds kind of weird. It is still kind of taboo. And so it's just, I think it just starts with like writers creating these characters that are just, people. And then the actor kind of just fills in the role. But yeah.
Amazing. And I guess this is a great question to end on. It comes from Jayanti. What is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to other young people out there to help them discover their voice and have some more of these challenging and difficult conversations?
I would say just get involved. I know like a lot of high schools and a lot of colleges offer a lot of different clubs and organizations, and just get involved with as much as you want to or can with things that spark your interest or things that are going to make you think. I think, after you kind of leave college, your brain doesn't really know how to retain information as when it comes to education. So just take in as much as you can, I would say.
Amazing. Okay, well, Frankie, thank you so much for being here. Any last words about heading into this election? Anything else on your mind that you wanted to share tonight?
No, but thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. Register to vote and just get ready. Yeah. Amazing.
And where can we stay in touch with you? How can we follow you, continue the conversation? And I think Jacqueline hit it on the head. When can we expect, some more Carlos on our big screens?
So I'm on Instagram at Frankie A. Rodriguez, and then I'm on Twitter at Mr. Frankie AR. And we're working on the second season. In the world of COVID, there's a lot of safety measures that have to be met. So we're working on that, but hopefully real soon.
Amazing. Well, glad you're staying safe. Can't wait to see more of you. We are just such fans of you at The Conversationalist. Thank you for being such an incredible leader and just an inspiration to all of Gen Z. So thank you so much.
This was so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. This was great. Of course. It was so great to virtually meet you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, Frankie. Oh my goodness. Wow. Everyone, how are we feeling? Pop into the chat. How amazing was that conversation? I mean, come on. Our panelists, Frankie, politics, pop culture. I am taking so much away from tonight's conversation, but pop into the chat. What are you taking away? How did this conversation break open your echo chamber? We are just so thrilled to have been able to put on this incredible event tonight for such an awesome cause. We'll share some updates with you on social media soon about how much we'll be donating to SBSK, and stay tuned for the announcement of our next panel coming up next week, all about another exciting topic. We'll be announcing that tomorrow. So check back with us on social media at The Conversationalist. And of course, right now, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, the first presidential debate is going to be starting. So make sure that you join our community right here, right now. We're all going to head over to our Geneva app and talk about the debates in real time with other young people around the country. Thank you all so much again for being here. Thank you to our incredible panelists this evening. We are in awe of them. And again, thank you so much to Frankie for leading this incredible dialogue. I'm Sophie Barron. We're so happy to have you on our journey to unify the world, and we'll see you again next week.